to live stream number 2 in this special series about Palestine. My first live stream was the other day, watching some videos, reacting, commenting. I hope you will join the conversation as well, share your knowledge and expertise. Today we've got Ilan Pappé and the Myth of Israel. Apparently he has a book called 10 Myths of Israel, 12 Myths of Israel. I can probably find it right here. I'm on Wikipedia looking for anyway, it's like 10 myths of Israel. We're watching a video about one myth. This is about 15 minutes long. We'll see how if we have time for another one after this. But Ilan Pappé, again reading from Wikipedia, is an Israeli historian, political scientist, and former politician. He's a professor with the College of Social Sciences and International Studies at the University of Exeter in United Kingdom, director of the university's European Center for Palestine Studies, and co-director of the Exeter Center for Ethnopolitical Studies. Born in 1954 in Haifa, Israel. So should be a good one. I've seen some stuff from him, not a lot. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. I've seen maybe some small clips, but let's jump in and see what we have here.
Hi, I'm Max Blumenthal for The Real News. We're in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club for an event on the Israel lobby. And I'm here with Ilan Pappé, Israeli revisionist scholar, I guess we could call you that. And you're coming out with 2 new books. And I just got a galley of your latest, which is called the 10 Myths of Israel.
That's right.
So what is the biggest myth about Israel? Would it be, a land for a people without a land? Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. I mean, what do you think the biggest myth is?
I think it's very difficult to choose, and that's why
you didn't have it like a top 10 list.
I chose chronology as
Okay.
the main regulator for the myths. So I began with the land without people and people without land. But I really think that the biggest myth of all has to do with how each of this myth does not allow us to understand the real nature of Zionism and the project of Zionism and the nature of Israel today.
Yeah, I think when you listen to Netanyahu, and he's sort of this master of expounding on this myth.
Thanks for the thumbs
that
up.
Israel's not only not a settler colonial state, but that it's sort of a normal democracy that has flowered out of the Middle East almost organically because of the Jewish ancestral connection. And then when he talks about the conflict, or I wouldn't even call it a conflict, I call it a crisis, he always goes back to the Hebron.
Flowered with enormous financial backing from the United States, right? It's easy to make things flower when you have billions of dollars flowing to you from the greatest superpower in the world.
Riots. He goes back to these events that occurred before the state of Israel was founded, for example.
Welcome,
attacks
Three
on Jewish communities
Eyes.
in Jaffa, and never explains how those communities came there and what the real story was. So how do you challenge Netanyahu's narrative of Jewish-Arab relations in historic Palestine?
I think it's deeper than that. And Netanyahu in this respect represents a very deep Israeli Jewish conviction that they are the indigenous people of Palestine, and the Palestinians are the settlers.
This Gaza does get beat up.
Aliens. And this is the starting point. The starting point is we are the indigenous. Yes, we haven't been there for a few hundreds of maybe 2,000 years, but we are the indigenous people of Palestine.
You're welcome.
And from there, everything.
Thanks for watching.
And I think the way to challenge it is really by using this paradigm of settler colonialism, because it's not exceptional for a settler colonial movement to claim to be the indigenous people of the place that they occupy, colonize, and quite often genocide. It happened before in other places. And I think that's something that allows people who either were victims of other settler colonial projects or people who are part of settler colonial states like the United States,
Right.
but are very familiar nowadays with their own history
Right.
and understand their own origins, to understand that actually it's not exceptional. It's not exception. The only exceptional part of it is the denial,
Yeah.
not the very historical act itself.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these myths are actually just Hasbara arguments by, in many cases, morons for the consumption of morons. But I found that in our world, there are a lot of, I mean, it falls on fertile soil. And
True.
the education system isn't very good in the West. So you have these Netanyahu, and I
not.
think, this is kind of a common feature of Hasbara, trying to draw a distinction between settler colonialism and traditional metropole colonialism. And you'll hear him say, we're not the French colonizing Algeria. We have nowhere to go back to. This is our homeland, and we can't go back anywhere. How do you respond to that? And I think one of the things that we failed to do is explain how settler colonialism is in many ways more pernicious than traditional colonialism.
Absolutely. The exceptional part of the story is that settler colonialism made certain connections or made certain assumptions which were accepted in the 19th century but looked ridiculous, inhuman, and non-democratic in the 20th century. And yet, in the particular case of Israel, they still remain valid. For instance, the claim that the only way you can create a democracy in a country which has settlers and natives is if the settlers are always the majority, which is the argument of the liberal Zionists, not the right-wing Zionists. The liberal Zionists, the whole peace process is based on the idea that the only way democracy can be sustained in Palestine is if the Jews are a majority in their own homeland.
Right.
So this is a ridiculous assumption that in any other context would be rejected as racist, but in the case of Israel is accepted.
Right.
And I think that's where the interesting part of the analysis comes into, I think, and also in my book, in the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Why
Thank you, but
well-read
thank you.
people in the West did not see this? Or did they see it and decided to accept it for reasons of guilt, anti-Semitism, because they didn't want the Jews to stay in Europe? God knows why. Everyone had their own reasons for that. For the second point that you were making, I think that it's very important to highlight when you talk about any settler
I wouldn't make it.
project, what Patrick Wolf called the logic of the
I don't want to be in their
elimination
club.
of
I'm
the
sure you
native.
don't either.
That you cannot
Price is too
create
high.
a new settler colonial society or a settler nation state from the settler colonial's perspective as long as there is an indigenous native population. So you have to get rid of them. Genocide them as you did in America, or impose apartheid and Bantustan on them as you did in South Africa, or ethnically cleanse them as you did in Palestine. The means vary from
I
one
found that out
historical
recently.
case study to the
It's
other.
wild
The
to think
logic
about.
is the same logic.
The
And what is
bloodline.
amazing is that this logic is still legitimized in the 21st century in the case of Israel under the guise of slogans such as the only democracy in the Middle East, a country that wants peace but doesn't find the right partner for it, and all the other mythologies that are connected to the peace process.
I think that the logic of the underlying logic of Zionism, of maintaining a demographic majority, a sort of ethnic overclass through, violent demographic social engineering, is scarcely ever interrogated in our mainstream media. In academia, it's even very rare to see it. Would you say that has fueled the rhetoric and the politics of the far right in Western Europe and in the United States, where you hear someone like Stephen Bannon, who's the chief counselor to Donald Trump, the main intellectual force behind him, say at a major conference in Washington that the United States is not just an economy, it has to represent a culture.
We have wide and sometimes divergent opinions, but I think the center core of what we believe, that we're a nation with an economy, not an economy just in some global marketplace with open borders, but we are a nation with a culture and a reason for being.
And it's this culturalist narrative which implies that the United States is white and Christian, and it must maintain a white Christian demographic majority. Do you think that that has anything to do with the legitimization that Israel's experienced?
I do think so. I think if you are a member of a right-wing intellectual movement or ideological movement or political movement, you watch Israel desperately in a way. You say, my ideas, my assumptions, my discourse that is regarded as fringe, lunatic, and dangerous is welcomed when it is uttered by the spokespersons for the Israeli Jewish state or by Israel itself. It's exactly that.
What is that? Nicaea? What does that mean?
The dehumanization that Israel is allowed to express through its discourse, through its policies, through its activities, is not different from any racist approach by any other group. In fact, settler colonialism is one of the most dangerous forms of modern racism. And it's not surprising that there are two ways in which Israel was trying to challenge this or protect this kind of exceptionalism, because it's very precarious. It can, one day the truth can be discovered and people would say, wait a minute, you're not different from an extreme right movement in America.
It's happening.
You are the same, especially when the right wing in Israel becomes stronger. So there are two ways that trying to challenge it. One is by claiming that, we don't use violent means. If you're a liberal Zionist, we're not looking for violent means of keeping demographic purity. We're actually willing to give up some territory in order to keep demographic purity, or we enclave, we incarcerate, we besiege the Palestinians in small Bantustan so that we will be demographically pure.
In Israel, it's liberals saying build the wall.
Absolutely liberal, of course, because this means I don't want to use supposedly violent means. I'm not expelling people.
We're not going to transfer anyone.
Exactly, we're just not going to let them leave.
We're just going to say, what was it was Ehud Barak's
Semantics
slogan.
Yeah, we are here and they are
us over
there.
here, them over there, and we
There.
would recognize that here as sort of segregation.
Thank you.
It's hard segregation.
I try.
Absolutely. And the second means by which they try to sort of hide it is the one that Netanyahu prefers, because he cannot say that he's willing.
Mostly for self-preservation, and I'm sure you may feel the same way. After 2021, when serious, murder or perish, right? Anti-semantics.
To give up territory, and this is elevating this idea of elevating anti-Semitism into supposedly a new phenomenon, the new anti-Semitism, and to say that when you criticize Israeli settler colonialism, you're not criticizing racism, but you're actually racist yourself.
Yeah.
Like the indigenous issue.
Yeah. Me neither.
If the Palestinians claim that they are indigenous, we will.
Isn't that wild? Free fries for a.
It's just really newspeak.
Which actually embraces the true logic of anti-Semitism.
It's a huge slap in the face to the intelligence of his contingency in New York and the globe. And it's one of my favorite videos of him sitting up there eating the fries, offering the hamburger, and it's wild. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's almost, I think there might be some other thing going on there. Thoughts on P. Diddy? I don't have a lot of thoughts on P. Diddy. I haven't followed it. I've heard rumblings throughout the years, but I don't have a lot of thoughts on P. Diddy. Free fries in exchange for scary. It's scary. Thoughts on Hunter? I think he's a bad guy. I think if the theory, if what we've seen of him, the laptop photos, the women, the drugs, is even 25% of what he's done, That guy is super sketchy. P. Epstein, thoughts on Buck Sexton and Clay Travis? Yeah, I don't know a lot about those guys. I know the one. It's funny you mentioned that the other day someone was talking about what is it? Yeah, I think it's Clay Travis that has the media company Outkick, and it got picked up by Fox. Of course, I think Fox is largely controlled opposition, and they just play the right in America, so nothing ever happens. I honestly don't like talk show hosts from either side. I think they just keep word spin going, and people they think something's getting done. Like listen to Ben Shapiro, think something's getting done. Listen to left wing, right wing, and it's just nothing ever happens. I don't like talk show hosts, even Dan Bongino. I mean, I think anyone in the establishment, I think, is compromised, to be quite honest. What are your thoughts? Margalone's growing in the veins. Margalone's growing. What do you mean by that? Clay Thompson is a white guy. I don't know Clay Thompson. Maybe you mean Clay Travis. Anyway, yeah, the media sketch. I think a lot of it is just designed to keep us in the lanes, and we never get anything. Nothing ever changes.
That conflates Zionism with Jews and holds them responsible collectively for all of Zionism's crimes.
Absolutely. It's above another
Clay
layer
Thompson.
Of uniformity.
I don't know. I don't follow a lot of sports, so I don't know that guy. Basketball player
in Asia or the Arab world, and not live as communities in the West, which is another kind of joint platform for anti-Semitism and Zionism.
Right, which opens the door for this kind of alliance of convenience we've seen with parties like the National Front in France. The Jobbik Party, even in Hungary, is moving away from its traditional anti-Semitism into a more pro-Zionist. We see the Austrian Freedom Party. Strasche was hosted by the Likud Party. This is a party founded by Nazis in Austria. He was hosted for a visit of the Holocaust Museum by the Likud Party. You go across.
What are you guys' thoughts on Nazism and Zionism? I mean, what do you guys think happened in WW2? It's interesting, when we think about history is written by the victors, who do you think is the president on January 5th, 2025? That's a good question. I don't know. Anything's up for grab. Project Paperclip, right? Bring many of them over here. It's so weird how deeply infiltrated our government got. Did you guys ever see that? I didn't watch it, but I knew about it. It was that dystopian sci-fi movie that supposedly portrayed if the Germans, who I now am rethinking completely, would have won World War II. It was like some kind of a weird thing. That's kind of what it feels like now, even though we're in a weird situation. Who do you think we should? Do you think we should finish the wall? Yeah, I'm down for solid borders, 100%. I think it's important. Just like good fences make good neighbors, I think good borders make good neighbors as well. I don't know why our government is. Well, I do know why. I think they've got some other plans up their sleeve. But yeah, I'm down for that for sure. There's old WW2 videos of German flags on flying saucers. I don't doubt it. I'll have to check those out. You finding that on Rumble, BitChute, just the web? Anyway, let's see if we can continue this one. Let me just see how much farther we got. This is almost done.
To all these far-right parties down to Trump and the Republican Party, and they've all become pro-Israel while holding on to this idea that, Jews really belong somewhere else.
And this is the whole notion of the Palestinians as immigrants. You have immigrants in Holland, and you have all the right to vote for a right-wing party because they are really Muslim immigrants and they create all the problem. We also have Muslim immigrants in Israel, and they're using the same methods to identify themselves, to operate politically and violently against our own culture, our own set of values.
Right. We
It's kind of-
understand the terrorism that
Absolutely.
you're experiencing. We have it ourselves.
And there are very worrying connections nowadays between the Israeli strategic advisors and experts and their counterparts in France, Britain, Holland, Denmark. They advise them how to control immigrant societies in order to preempt the next loner, the next
lone wolf, right?
lone
And
wolf.
it's through biometrics and racial profiling and what do they call it? Micro expressions.
Micro expressions, and it's
Wow.
all built on this assumption. We all have Muslim migrant societies that did not fit in to the host culture,
Right.
and that's quite a challenge for us to.
My thoughts on religion. Let's see. I think it could be I think it can be in many ways more problematic than it can be helpful. Of late, I see it as another way to control people, especially, as you guys are probably seeing this too, in a lot of cards were revealed for people paying attention in 2020 and 2021 in many different areas. And again, I mentioned this the other day with the falsus unus, falsus optimus. Once you, if like for instance, the pharma industry is super corrupt. They always have been. They're super bad news. So then anyone who says that industry is good, including Netanyahu, including all the presidents, including Donald Trump, including, or not only if they say that industry is good, if they say the product from that industry, which we all know is corrupt, they're corrupt. They hold the most fines from the Department of Justice. They hold the record for the number of fines, even more than big oil. They were directly or indirectly causing Vioxx problem, causing the opioid problem. If you have anyone that says, yes, their product is good, you should take it, instantaneous, their sketch. And that includes all the presidents, the Dalai Lama, the leader of the prophet of the Mormon Church, the Pope. I mean, the whole thing. It's crazy. So I went real south on religion. You love Pfizer. I doubt you do. You're joking. Let me see here. You should link with Project Cheney and the Union of the Unwanted. I know some of them. I can link you up with them. You tried to link me up with someone last time, didn't you? It was Alex Jones, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to check them out and see what their story is. Project Cheney. Okay, I'll look into it. And Johnson & Johnson, right? What do you think of the King James Bible, the one true Bible made by the Dispels? Well, that's the one I go to generally, but I'm also diving more into the Geneva Bible, as I've recently found out, maybe less corrupt. I don't know. I really want to get my hands on the Ethiopian Bible and the one with that has all of the it's escaped my mind right now, all the books, right? What is it, 88? I want to get my hands on that one. I don't like them taking things out, saying, oh, this doesn't fit, this isn't, I think it's sketch. What about you? But I do go to the King James more often than not. In fact, I was just reading it this morning. Zyklon B and Zyklon B. What's that? Is that a drug? They're truthers. Okay. Yeah. I'll check them out. But yeah, so let me see what else we got going on here. We're almost done here.
It's so false. It's almost like the kind of Nazi propaganda that you have such a big lie. The bigger the lie is, the more difficult it is then to diffuse it. It's such a big lie that I think in the beginning we're a bit paralyzed when we try to challenge it because
That's what I felt. That's what it felt like with COVID. It was so people look at you and you're like, I wouldn't trust those people. I wouldn't trust the gov. I wouldn't trust pharma. And they look at you like you're crazy because look how many doctors were like signing off on it. It's crazy. Try an independent fundamental Baptist church. Okay, I will. It was wild right after the October 7th attacks. I was listening to Mark Driscoll. And again, once you know what Israel is, once you know what they're all about, and that it was, the seed of it was bad from the beginning. Anytime you get these preachers that are like, yeah, they should be there and it's a good thing, instantaneously you're in the category of suspect, to me. Doctor of Death, Joseph Mercola, aka Mengola, aka Dr. Fauci. Yes, I thought you were talking about Joseph Mercola, one of my heroes, one of the disinformation dozen. Yeah, he was, and Fauci's just gone now. Their good Bible believing church calls everything straight down the middle. I like it. I want to see a pastor, and I think they can't really call out what. It's sad because I think so much of the Christian base in America has been tainted by this idea of, Israel's, the bee's knees. And I think pastors, in order to put food on the table, have to keep propagating a lie. It's horrible. That's why I think it's so important for people to speak out. That's why I'm not shy about it, because at the end of the day, what are the options? You're going to have propagate a lie forever. You can't propagate a lie forever. It's eventually going to come out. And plus you got to do the right thing. A lot of my talking points come from Alex Jones. I like him too. I haven't followed him a lot, but I do like his stuff. Who I listen to a lot and I really like is the other guy. I don't know if he's still with InfoWars, the Reese Reports guy. I like that guy. His little short videos are awesome. You need to listen to Dr. Russell Bell, a 90-year-old evangelist who calls everything down the middle. Russell Bell. Okay, I'll check that guy out. I wonder if I've heard of him before. Bell. Yeah, I'll check him out. Greg Reese. Yes, I like him a lot. I was listening to his live stream a couple months ago. Yeah, can you imagine the knowledge that guy has? A lot of knowledge. I like his stuff a lot. Well, this was an interesting video. I mean, we'll see how long this mess in Israel lasts. I hope it's wrapped up sooner rather than later. I can't imagine. I feel for those Palestinian people over there being bombed, and can you imagine they really haven't had any support over here in the West, or enough people calling them out. I think the October 7th event may have been, a saving grace for them to wake a lot of people up and get the word out, and people started diving in about what's going on over there. I knew next to nothing about what was happening in Israel before October 7th. He gets his knowledge from Jones too. Okay, I imagine behind the scenes, because Jones can't put out all the content, so he gives his ideas to other people. That makes sense. He's good. I think the reason I gravitate toward Greg Reese more is that he seems more. I mean, Alex Jones is such a character and can be polarizing, which can be, which is a positive and a minus. Is clearly he's been very successful. But I think the reason I gravitate towards Greg Reese is because he seems more grounded a little bit. Come to Wayside Baptist Church or Lighthouse Baptist Church, both in North Carolina. They call everything straight down the middle in those churches and are good Bible believing churches. Do they have a live stream? Because I would go there via live stream, or do they have a YouTube channel and whatnot? I like doing that sometimes, dropping in on churches via the web, which is super awesome these days, right? Wayside Baptist or Lighthouse Baptist. Wayside Baptist. Okay, I'll check it out. Lighthouse Baptist. Well, I think I'll wrap it up tonight, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me again, and thanks for your comments and your sharing of knowledge and information. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.